Peace. What I have to say is important, so I hope you'll dig in and pay attention to this. There are these levels, and everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people talk so highly of what level they're on and this and that. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard some reference to there being levels in your awareness. And like I said, you'll hear people who talk about where they're at. Me personally, it's just not my thing to take it to that extent, because I feel like it to a degree it sullies, the sacredness of what I think this is supposed to be. I think I'm the greatest story yet to be told, so I'd like to know more about the backstory and how this thing plays out, how the story was created and so forth. So I think putting the right amount of attention into that detracts from me being able to put enough energy into trying to classify myself as how superior I am. One of the problems, I guess we could say the gift and the curse of the reawakening of consciousness, especially amongst melanated people of the North American continent, is that along with all of the feel good as far as the great work, when I say feel good, I don't mean that in a condescending or can't think of the word that begins with an S. Sarcastic. I'm not trying to be sarcastic or facetious. What I'm saying is, when you're discovering your history and discovering your significance, the history of humanity, rightfully so, it's going to send you into a degree of boastfulness, because look at what the polar opposite is that you came from, where you were taught that you were nothing more than the watered down version of a slave. You're the descendant of slaves. Okay? So when you get a hold of this information that is speaking to your significance, your divinity is speaking to your greatness, rightfully so, you're going to take it to the other extreme, to oppose the muck and dirt that you had to be pulled from based on lies that have been told to you. But the sad reality is that that energy can be corralled into a trap. It can turn into a trap. Okay? And that's right. That's a shock top. I don't know what the hell this is. It's something new I'm trying out, but it's pretty good. I put that up for a reason. Does that make you think that I'm less spiritual? That I'm less divine? Because I'm talking about things this manner and I'm drinking a beer. How does that make you feel? What naturally rises up in you when you saw that? If it's just like it was nothing, then that says something about you. If it was something that's like, I can't believe that he was consuming barley and oats or whatever they put in that shit, hops. He had an amber colored bottle. If it made you have that type of then that tells you where you're at too. So here's the deal. Because we come from such an abrupt polar opposite or acute polar opposite, then we have to respond naturally with extremes, okay? Cleverly though, that can be used as a mechanism to trap you. Because if that's all you talk about year in, year out, your supremacy, which is a facade, because we peel back the layers on your life and you're miserable. You feel like you have no control over your life and you're angry. So you found something to voice your anger and say, this is why my life is sucks. Because I have identified where the devil is. I have identified the boogeyman, the sinister unit or organization that's behind my woes. If that's not expanded on and stretched and built upon, it becomes the equivalent of stagnant water. Stagnant water dies. Water only lives when water is moving. This stuff is not rocket science. It's about movement. So people try to talk elaborately. People even try to correct me about how I need to say something. I'm a wordsmith. I can eloquently speak and write if I want to and use multiple syllable words. I have a command of the English language. But that does not amount to much. It's about being able to make it simple. The more I, in my mind, can simplify things, the better they are for me, the better they are to the people that levitate to the way I deliver information and hopefully inspiration. So you get locked into a box. The key is to expand, to move. To move. You should not be, there should not be any organization that can hold you. Because it should be impossible when you're constantly expanding. It's like a box can't hold water. Eventually that water is going to expand and it's going to wear down the material and it's going to move. Stagnation is your enemy or one of your enemies. Okay? Still though, the feel-good reality or feel-good moment we have has its place and it's definitely has its merits. Because you can't get to the point where you question yourself until you've gone through a point where you've learned to have some greater love for yourself. You know, when you question yourself from a space of lacking love and self-hatred, you're not really questioning yourself, you're condemning yourself. Once you gather a certain amount of confidence and knowledge of yourself, then you can then go back and critique yourself from a different perspective. Now you're not bullying yourself. Now you're not, looking at how much of a failure you are. You're looking at opportunities for you to grow. For you to grow. And that's the way it should be. But as you go further along, the questions get deeper. The ponderings get more confusing and deeper. Now, let me say this before I continue. If you're not into reading, and if books are beneath you, then don't do it. Okay? Don't do it. You're free. Do as thou wilt. It's the whole of the law. You're free to do whatever you want. If by chance, though, you're one of those people who is open, a little more open, and you're not going to deny help anywhere that you can get it, then I'll share something with you. But just as much as you go from having this sometimes inflated view of yourself based on the historical data you've gone over. Sometimes we take it too far, which is a human quality. Just as you have to transition from that to a place of questioning things more, you also have to transition from needing to feel like you're at Cheers, where everybody knows your name and they're always glad you came. You have to get past that feeling of wanting to belong. And that means you're going to have to experience something called loneliness. Even amongst people who claim to be, awake, aware, #woke and all that. I saw a lady come out of Walmart the other day with a shirt on, #Melanin. And this is a prime example. That's good for that person to have that as an initial stage of awakening. Making a statement that I am aware of to some degree, who I am and what I possess. It's a good start. For me, though, if I were to wear that at this point in time, it would be a sign that Brother Jamal is suffering from a mild case of retardation. This motherfucker that got hit in the head with a few bricks, cause he's walking around with a #Melanin shirt. It's like that just don't line up with the brother. Cause I'm not supposed to be at that point. I'm supposed to be beyond that. So, just like we say, we have to move from the feel good to the probing. We have to move, unfortunately, from the communal village idea, or the 4-H club idea we have, to that of loneliness. And loneliness, you need to be prepared for it to happen. First of all, as a human, but on a deeper level, when you're studying and pursuing whatever the version is that you're pursuing of this awakening and reuniting with Source. Okay? You need to understand and be prepared for loneliness. Moments where you feel extremely lonely, even if you know you. Not just saying you don't have a family and you don't know any of your people, and I mean literally you got a family and everything, things fine, and you have these feelings of loneliness. That is because I don't like using the word overstanding, but this would be a situation where it applies. When you overstand, meaning you are able to stand above, you're able to see more, and seeing more can be disturbing, and it then requires for you to have some discussion to hash these things out, some form of exchange with someone. You need just to bounce it off, and you more than likely have issues finding those people that you can talk to on that level. You know, not trying to sound deep, you know, well, brother, you know, the problem is from a philosophical standpoint, you know, not that dude. But just down to earth, just shooting shit, you know, chopping it up about real shit. You know, it's priceless when you can have that, but it's lonely in those majority of times when you don't. And that's unfortunate and beneficial at the same time. The loneliness is a part of wearing down your own, let's say, exterior. I talked about one time about the Sufi story, and the book so titled The Sufi by Idris Shah, and how he talks about the tiger devours the camel. Camel means glamour. So, you know, basically the tiger's eating up the glamour, or the pettiness, the petty reality, the false reality. The tiger eats it up, okay? And in doing so, the tiger becomes one with it. Because if you eat something, you're ingesting its energy. You know, you're basically merging with it. So, I have another book on, we could say, Sufism, mystical Islam, and some things you can read can change your life. Let's put it that way. You don't read these big old thick books cover to cover, first of all, as the great Bobby Hemmett told us. We don't read them cover to cover. It's like you don't go in a library and think you're going to read every book in the public library cover to cover. And if you got a serious library at your house, you know, it could be the equivalent of being in a public library as far as you as one person, the ratio to all them books. You ain't going to be able to get through all of them and read them cover to cover. You got 1,000, 2,000 books. You ain't gonna get to those reading them cover to cover. So what you learn to do is you use your library as a resource center. It is a living bibliography. It's a walking citation engine, okay? And you have questions that come up, and you might even have revelations or channels or visions, and you need to want to be able to have something you can go and just refer to, just to add a little analytical step to whatever you're dealing with on your spiritual side. Okay? This book right here, one thing I want to say to the people who will read, there's an art to finding what you need and sift through trash, and you'll find it's a very spiritual thing, finding information, books and so forth. You'll find places people want, other people won't. Books will wait on you. They will wait on you to help you through whatever moment in time you find yourself in, okay? All right, so a book I feel like can change your life is this book right here. Mystical Dimensions of Islam. Okay, this is by Anne Marie Schimmel. Let me tell you what really stands out to me. Certain things, and I learned this from Bobby Hemmett too, as far as looking at who's a publisher. When you see something published by the University of North Carolina Press, get it. Get it. University of North Carolina and the Research Triangle in North Carolina, Duke in North Carolina, NC State, and even Wake Forest. You got to keep in mind, although we see these places as hubs for college athletics, these are actually the equivalent of almost Ivy League schools of the South. UNC Chapel Hill, Duke, especially those two. You know, held in high regard. Come out of there with a law degree out of Carolina, come out of Carolina, come out of Duke with engineering degree or biochemistry, molecular biology, coming out of Carolina with a medical degree and so forth, or a degree in dentistry, doctor of dental surgery, so forth. That holds a lot of weight, okay? So these are research institutions. When you find a book from the University of North Carolina Press, get the book. If you find a book from the University of South Carolina Press, get the book. I got a book called Secret and Sacred, and it's a diary of John Hammond. I think that was his name. He was a slave owner in South Carolina. This is his diary. This is called first-hand research because you're getting it straight from the source. Okay? And if you want to see a window into the mind of that era and a person in that position, get that. That's an excellent book. University of South Carolina Press. If you see something, Princeton University, get it. SUNY at State University of New York, get that. University of Chicago, get that. You know, Stanford Press, get it. Because these are major research hubs, and they ain't putting out no bullshit. You want to get them. So this book right here will help give some clarity to this acute feeling of loneliness that we feel in this realm that we are dealing in, okay? It says, "Kill me, oh my trustworthy friends," becomes a key word for Rumi's thought. One of the central motifs in his poetry is that of dying and thus gaining a new life. Faithful to the prophetic tradition, die before ye die. To prove the truth of this hadith and of Hallaj's related poem, Rumi sometimes combines very strange images. Even the chickpea becomes the symbol of the human situation. Put in boiling water, the vegetable complains and tries to jump out of the kettle, but the poet tells it that since it grew by the rain and sunshine of divine grace, it now must learn to suffer in the fire of divine wrath in order to mature. That's called humanity. That's called within humanity feeling lonely, feeling like you don't fit in, feeling like the oddball. The person who cooks the chickpeas is comparable to Abraham, who was willing to slaughter his beloved son. The eternal goal is your surrender. Only by such a willing surrender can the vegetable reach the stage of animal life and be endowed with spirit and thought. Not being is necessary for becoming and being. Might I repeat that again? Not being is necessary for becoming and being. If you want to become something, you got to not be it first. Not be what you think you are. Like they say in Zen Buddhism, I can't teach you Zen until you empty your cup. Okay? And once you empty your cup, then you can start experiencing my cup runneth over. Okay? So it says, not being is necessary for becoming and being. All the masters seek not being and breaking, because only then can God work upon them. Attar had already spoken of the necessity of being eaten. See, think about the camel and the tiger. The camel wants the tiger to eat it, to dissolve it so that it can merge and become. It wants to not be so that it can be. All right? And Rumi, with his remarkable fondness for images taken from the kitchen, imitated him. Life is a constant movement, and no stage can be reached until the previous stage has been fulfilled. The caravan has to be ready for the sound of the bell that calls it to journey toward new stations. And out of the dust grow plants, which in turn are transformed into a higher form of life through annihilation. Rumi sometimes used the commercial terminology found in the Quran. With God is the best bargain. He buys from you your dirty fortune and gives in exchange light of the soul. He buys the ice of the perishable body and gives a kingdom beyond imagination. Talking about cycles. Things have to be pristine and gorgeous and pretty, and then they have to get destroyed and go through, all of the degrading process of getting digested and broken down, and then it transforms into something greater. Your loneliness is a part of your journey. It's a part of your path to becoming. And when you're feeling lonely, you are experiencing lack in a positive way. See, not everything has a positive and negative. Okay, so lack can be detrimental. When you constantly speak in that tone, and a tone of lack. But lack can also be beneficial, because if you're lacking, that means that you're capable of receiving. So when you lack the feeling of camaraderie with a lot of people, and you feel empty and lonely because you don't have a lot of people to talk to about these things you're discovering and you're exploring, it can really make you feel down, and that's an expression of lack. Non-being is lacking. Lacking means that now I can receive. So it doesn't make it any better. It doesn't make it feel better, but it should make it better for you to understand why. Anytime you can put a why on something and get understanding, you should feel empowered. The most inhibiting thing is to feel like you're stuck in a situation and you don't understand why, and you don't feel like you can do anything about it. That's like double jeopardy. So one great place to start to be able to do something about whatever it is that's going on with you at this current moment is to identify a why, like we always say, so you can move forward. especially the Sufis, I really, really enjoy reading the Sufi material and really pondering and reflecting on the stuff because it unfolds. One thing that you need to do to help with feelings of loneliness is you need to have resources around you to help you in those moments when you're really, it's like, man, this is some ridiculous shit. There's a lot of people where suicide seems to be a big conversation here lately. Some people are attesting that to the Gemini energy. You had Anthony Bourdain supposedly commit suicide. Kate Spade supposedly commit suicide. And the thing about it is, this is me, my outlook on it. This is a school that we're in. Suicide is equivalent of dropping out of school. You just couldn't apply yourself enough, and you had distractions, and you gave up. That means you never graduate. Okay? A lot of people who dropped out, they had to come back and try to get their GED later. That'd be the equivalent of some more reincarnations. Or some more incarnations, I'm sorry. You gotta see your way through this school. You can't buy out or bow out. You can't cheat your way through it. You can't fake your way through it. You're going to have real things, emotions, and let me say this. Having certain emotions don't have a damn thing to do with you're mentally ill or you're imbalanced and this and that. Man, it's called being a human. It's called being a human. I just can't get with this superhero attitude about life. And there's got to be some balancing of the scales. Because I'm telling you, you talk to people and you hear them try to repeat that rhetoric, and you can look in their eyes and tell that it's not real. They don't even believe it. They don't believe that. They don't feel powerful. They don't feel like no god or goddess. They're not feeling that shit. They're just talking. And we got a lot of hurt people who are masking over their pain with a lot of grandiose talk, talking big, and it's just easy to spot. And first of all, it's easy to spot a person who's lacking confidence. Easy. I don't care if you're in China or you in Stop 6 in Fort Worth. You always can spot the person who's lacking confidence because they feel the need to try to put spikes on their vehicle and let people know, oh, there's danger over here. Don't you do it. Don't you come this way. And you got to because you're trying to hide the fact that there's some lack. Which, like we said, lack ain't all bad. But we've gotten to a point where we don't want to acknowledge lack, and we're talking these great grandiose games, and they don't mean shit. I'm sorry. Here's my thing. I'm bothered by, to me, how can I read all this literature about who I am and the greatness, and in writing we call it copy. I can't even put clean copy out. So you don't have to be no great writer to take your time and look and proofread your shit. We do things sloppy and give it the excuse of I'm using my right brain and I ain't going with all that logical, linear, da da da. Then you want to come back and say that you created everything in the world. Well, dum-dum, that means that even the so-called logical way of thinking is part of your creation too. We give ourselves excuses to be failures. That's one of the downsides of not being able to push beyond being a part of something. That you're so beat down in your everyday life that when you feel like you can be a part of something, it's hard to let that go. Something is a powerful drug. Rick James said cocaine is a powerful drug. No, something is a powerful drug. I got to be part of something. I got to feel like I have importance. And I have importance because I can say I'm part of this. You fill in the blank with whatever. Because loneliness is tough to deal with. Loneliness. But loneliness is the only way for us to experience all this flowered shit we say we want. You can't, man, you can't develop no thick muscle on your body without enduring suffering. When I tell you suffering, you know, to where you think something's about to fall off, the muscle's so tight, there's so much blood in there, it's so fatigued, even you're out of breath, you know, you're like, man, I don't know if I can keep going on. But that produces a type of muscle that other people can't. You can't go in the gym and just pop this out unless some people just born, but you ain't gonna go in the gym and you ain't gonna be able to just take a cycle of steroids and just get. There's something that comes with time digging into that muscle, and that muscle gets thicker and thicker. It's called muscle maturity. Same thing applies to this. All this feel good shit, just it's okay if that's where you're starting. That's fine. We got people of different levels and so forth. But if you don't be a groupie. Don't be a groupie. Don't be a groupie. This is a university, is what it's supposed to be. And you're supposed to be seeking degrees. Not one degree, but degrees, plural. But sadly, it can be treated like the high school glee club, or, you know, I got my Letterman jacket. You know, I got voted as homecoming king. That shit. I'm only talking to who I'm talking to. If it ain't for you, beautiful thing about the internet, turn the motherfucker off. And everything I'm saying, my words are the words I want to use, and I mean what I mean. I'm saying what I'm saying, and I mean what I'm saying. Loneliness is part of you being dissolved, okay? So I don't want people to be overwhelmed. You know, you go start digging in something, you start knocking stuff loose. You know, and stuff start coming up. Gases, you go digging in the earth, all types of gases are coming up. There's all different types of layers of earth that you start going through that require different types of drills and so forth. And you have to keep protecting yourself the deeper you go, that everything just don't collapse on you. So they're as you're digging for a tunnel, you got to be building the tunnel. Because otherwise everything is just gonna collapse. So when you find you something that you can refer to every now and then, just to give you a little reminder, that's the point. Give yourself a little reminder of who you are, where you are, what you're doing, what's going on, so that you don't lose your damn mind. to participate in this type of information is to border on insanity. It is. But you have to make sure that you stay in enough control that you don't let yourself go over the edge to where you can't function as a human. You came here as a human to experience everything, to experience the emotions of being a human, to experience the joy, the trials and travails of being a human, to gain understanding though of your divinity and to actively work to achieve it through any means necessary. So it's good to have something that can kind of just reset you. And as time will go, same simple little passages will morph into something greater. Because the stuff is not the book, it's you. It's you. You're getting better cards every time, but you always keep that owner's manual just as a guide. You don't pull out the owner's manual every day when you crank up your damn car. When that motherfucking sensor light come on, it's good to have a little owner's manual to go in there and look at and say, oh, okay, this code typically means that I've got an evap leak or whatever, Once again, don't make excuses for your mediocrity. If you're lazy, if you're distracted, if, any of the above, call it what it is, but don't try to wash things over by making a bunch of excuses for yourself and then lying to yourself about what you can do and this and that. It's dismissive and it's dangerous. You need to take the time and feel what you feel and then become the observer. And step back and observe the whole situation. Once you become the observer, you now have the ability to move things, to move them. And movement is the order of the cosmos. Everything must move or truly will die. This is Brother Jamal, mastersofthecosmos.com. I'm reminding you to stay down until you get up. And when you get up, stay down.